Good morning, gentlemen. I am out here walking the dog today, as usual, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful out here. You see that? The sun is out. It is, it is beautiful this morning. It's beautiful weather, beautiful day. Um, I was sitting this morning doing my journaling and my reading and thinking about my day and what was coming up, and I was thinking about a conversation that came up on one of the group calls the other night within the Mentoring Men community. And the conversation came up about do you own your own life? Is your life your own? I think was the question that ultimately came up. Because part of the conversation was that there was a man on the call who felt like he didn't have any choices. Ultimately, he felt powerless, and that's the topic of this morning's video is, do you feel powerless? Do you feel like you don't have any agency or ownership or control over your life? Do you feel like you're trapped? Do you feel like you can't? Do you feel like others dictate your day? And is that true? Is that true? So as I was sitting this morning and I was journaling, I was thinking back to a time when I felt that exact same way. I wanted to travel, I wanted to go places, I wanted to see things, I wanted to do stuff, and I felt like I couldn't. I felt like it wasn't okay for me to do those things, much less want those things. There was a friction, there was a resistance. And I told myself stories. I told myself that I had to go to work, I had to earn money, I had to pay the bills, I had to do whatever anyone else outside of me needed to be happy. I needed them to be happy. I needed them to be okay so that I could be okay. I needed to please other people. This is what we talk about when we talk about people pleasing. I talk about this a lot with guys, about people pleasing, about turning ourselves inside out to please somebody else, about putting our own needs and desires aside, about hoping that someone will come to save us, that someone will care enough about us to give us what it is that we want, because we're working so hard to try to do for others. We're trying so hard to please others, and we're really in this unspoken contractual agreement that if we do these things for other people, that they will care enough, right? That we will have earned their appreciation, we will have earned their love, and that they will want to care for us. So we 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 abdicate or give up the right and responsibility to care for ourselves because we've handed it over to someone else. And we've said, hey, you be responsible for this. I'll be responsible for your care and feeding, your happiness. You be responsible for mine. And the problem with that is that it's a big, huge burden on the other person. And internally, we have a picture of how we think that that's supposed to go. And so no matter how hard the other person tries, they can never match up to our expectations. And a lot of times they're so focused on their own discomfort, their own pain, their own discontent, that they don't have space to try to make us happy. So it leaves us feeling powerless. It leaves us feeling dependent. It leaves us feeling anxious and not okay. It leaves us feeling unloved and unwanted. It leaves us feeling undesired and disrespected, especially as men. We feel disrespected all the time. We feel unappreciated and unloved and unwanted. So I had to realize, I learned through this journey, I had to come to realize that what I was doing was I was coming up with a set of rules for myself, saying that I had to go to work, I had to do these things, and then telling myself that I couldn't go and travel, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do because it would take up money. It would take up time. It would take time away from the family. It would upset my wife. She wouldn't like it. She wouldn't understand. Um, and I projected that all onto her. I, I never voiced what it was that I wanted to do. I told myself a story about what was possible, what I could and what I couldn't do, who would be upset and what that would mean. And that didn't set well with me. So I would silently sit and be frustrated and be resentful and project that onto my wife and my family. When I was the one coming up with the story, I was the one coming up with the rules. And so it was insanity. It was insanity. And I did it over and over and over again. And not realizing that I was the one that was in control the whole time. Even though I was telling myself I couldn't, even though I was telling myself I shouldn't, even though I was telling myself that other people would get upset or that it wasn't okay for me to want these things, I was the one that was in control. And yet I believed that other people were in control. I believed that other people set the tone for my life and that other people were in control of those things. And I was hurting myself. And it wasn't until I finally got onto just about the brink of divorce. My wife said, I don't want to be married anymore. She wouldn't give me anything more than a one-word answer to questions. She could feel my frustration. She could feel my disappointment, my discontent, my my uh, my resentment, and she didn't know what to do with it. She felt powerless too. She felt like there was no hope. And when she got to the point where she lost hope entirely, she wanted to get away from it. It was uncomfortable. It wasn't something that she wanted to live with anymore. And I took that personally. And I took that personally, and I thought that my life was over. I really felt like I had failed, like I was a failure. Until I came across Good Guys to Great Men. Until I came across Steve Horseman. And he had a message of redemption. He had a message of hope. He had a message of how to move forward and take ownership of my life. And so I reached out to him, and I wound up talking with Dan Dorr over at Good Guys to Great Men, and he and I coached for 6 months. We coached for all throughout the time that I was separated from my wife, all throughout the time that I was on the verge of divorce. And what I learned through being a part of that community and part of coaching with Dan and talking with Steve was that I was creating my own pain, that I had been telling myself a story, that I was actually experiencing the byproduct of my own thoughts, that my thoughts were driving my feelings, that my feelings were driving my behavior, and my behavior was a product of was a byproduct of the results were a byproduct of my behavior. And that I was experiencing all of that, I was attached to outcome. I was basically creating my own suffering. And so out of that journey, I eventually became a men's coach. Got certified by Dan and Steve, started my own community. I've worked with men to help them unravel the hairball of their own thoughts. And I know firsthand what it's like to be free of all of that, to be comfortable in my own skin, to know what it's like to breathe and go slow and smile and be happy and content, and to own my choices, to own my thoughts, to take back ownership of my happiness, and to take it back from my wife. And now we're on the verge of celebrating our 27th wedding anniversary, which is tomorrow. Tomorrow is our wedding anniversary, and now things are great. Now things are great. She can breathe because I can breathe. She can relax because I can relax. I am now no longer trapped. I'm no longer powerless. And that's what I want to help you with. That's what I can help you with. That's what I help men with all the time. So today I have a coaching call with a man. I have a group coaching call tonight, and the rest of the day, I know for certain, is mine. It's mine to do with whatever I want to do with. And I have already decided that today is a day of being. Today is a day of joy because I choose that. I choose that. I choose to breathe, go slow, smile, and enjoy the day. That's a choice. That's a choice that you can make. And it's also a choice that you can make to reach out and contact me. Let's talk about what's going on with you. Let's talk about what's happening in your world right now. Let's talk about the story that you're telling yourself, how you feel trapped, how you feel powerless. And let's talk about how you can change that. When you contact me, what we do is we talk for an hour. We have a deep conversation. I listen to everything that's going on with you. And then I ask you some questions. I ask you some questions about your thinking. I ask you some questions about the possibilities. And together we come up with a plan. We come up with a plan to help you move from being frustrated and powerless and trapped to being an owner of your life, a creator of what you want. We move into a space where you are no longer dependent, where you no longer are resentful, where you can breathe, and where your wife can breathe, and where your kids can breathe, and your coworkers, and your friends, and your family, and everybody that you encounter. They experience the version of you that is happy and content and fulfilled. All right, brother, reach out, message me, look in the description. There's a link. Click on it. Set up a phone call. Let's talk. I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.